Sister Carrie, a novel by Theodore Dreiser, was published in 1900 and tells the story of Caroline Meeber, a young woman who arrives in Chicago from a small town in Wisconsin, seeking success and happiness. Through Carrie's journey, Dreiser explores themes such as the hollowness of materialism, the tension between physical desires and spiritual fulfillment, the inevitability of loneliness, and the changing role of women in the emerging America of the late 19th century. Despite being recognized today as a landmark of American literary naturalism and being included by the Modern Library among the top 100 English-language works of the 20th century, the novel sold fewer than 400 copies in its first year. Critics initially dismissed Dreiser's style as slow and cumbersome, overlooking the novel's revolutionary approach to examining the intricate relationship between individuals and their socio-cultural environment. The significance of both Sister Carrie and Dreiser's work would be recognized years later when he was shortlisted for the Nobel Prize in Literature. Like Mark Twain and Kurt Vonnegut, Dreiser scrutinized a society that had deviated from its ideals, equating opportunity with opportunism. The novel begins in late summer 1889, when 18-year-old Carrie, nicknamed Sister Carrie, leaves her small-town home and family to pursue a new life in Chicago. On her train journey, she encounters Charles Drouet, a charming and well-dressed salesman who strikes up a conversation and captivates her with his affable nature. They promise to meet again before parting ways at the train station. Carrie stays with her sister, Minnie, and her family, who expect her to contribute rent once she secures a job. Carrie's only job opportunity is at a shoe factory, where the conditions are harsh, the hours long, and the pay meager. As winter sets in, the factory floor becomes even more unbearable, and Carrie falls ill with pneumonia, causing her to lose her job. Fearing a return to her small-town life, Carrie unexpectedly runs into Charles Drouet again. He treats her to an extravagant lunch and persuades her to leave her sister's house by offering the promise of a comfortable life. Within weeks, Carrie moves in with Drouet. Though Drouet is a self-absorbed man, he supports Carrie and teaches her how to dress and behave with elegance. Drouet introduces Carrie to George Hurstwood, a bartender at an upscale saloon. Carrie and Hurstwood quickly form a connection, and they begin an affair behind Drouet's back. Hurstwood declares his love for Carrie, but she remains unaware that he is married with 2 teenage children. Meanwhile, Drouet, eager to immerse Carrie in city culture, arranges for her to perform in a theater production at his lodge. Carrie's acting impresses both Drouet and the critics. However, the affair is soon discovered. Drouet learns of the secret relationship, and Hurstwood's wife files for divorce. Drouet moves out, and Hurstwood fears his financial ruin. When Drouet informs a stunned Carrie that Hurstwood is married, she writes a letter to Hurstwood, ending their relationship. That night, as Hurstwood drunkenly closes up the bar, he notices the safe has been left open. While handling the cash, the safe door accidentally shuts, and Hurstwood interprets the incident as a sign. He steals nearly $10,000 and escapes, convincing Carrie to accompany him to Canada under false pretenses. Upon arriving in Montreal, Carrie agrees to stay with Hurstwood only after he promises to marry her. However, a private detective soon tracks them down, and in exchange for not being charged, Hurstwood returns the stolen money. Carrie and Hurstwood marry, but the union is a facade, since Hurstwood is still legally married to his first wife, and he uses the false name of George Wheeler. The couple moves to New York City, where Hurstwood struggles to make a living as a part owner of a local bar. The couple rarely socializes, and Carrie begins to grow discontented with her life. She befriends Mrs. Vance, a neighbor whose wealthy husband offers her the life Carrie longs for. Through Mrs. Vance, Carrie meets Robert Ames, a passionate graduate student who teaches her that materialism drains the soul and leaves one empty. When the bar is sold to new owners, Hurstwood loses his drive and will, and he sinks into self-pity and depression. Carrie, forced to support herself, finds work as a dancer and singer in a Broadway chorus line, where her career begins to flourish. Meanwhile, Hurstwood, unable to cope with his declining fortunes, takes a job as a streetcar conductor during a strike. As a strikebreaker, he faces violent hostility from the striking workers and quits after just 2 days. Carrie, disillusioned with Hurstwood, leaves him and moves in with a friend from the theater. Within 2 years, Carrie becomes a headliner in Broadway comedies, living a life of wealth and celebrity. Hurstwood, reduced to living on the streets, becomes increasingly desperate and isolated. Ultimately, he takes his own life. Despite her success and fame, Carrie finds no true happiness in her money or her career, feeling the emptiness of her achievements. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.